Bottom of the Smash Mountain, Season 2, Episode 39, The CEO of Melee TikTok. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Jesse and/or Cypher. You get it. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. We have Zetts. That's right, the man behind Smashcasts, a very awesome Melee TikTok account, is here to talk about that, to talk about a little bit of the origin story of content creation for Zetts. We didn't actually get into Melee origin story in general this time, but that's because there were just so many other things to talk about. But hey, maybe we'll get Zetts on again. This could be one of those deals where I just get Zetts on again and we do it some more again. I don't want to spoil the conversation, but it was a lot of fun. As you might be able to tell, I'm still kind of bouncing around after having just done the interview. That we had a great time, and so I hope you enjoy, and we'll talk afterwards. All right, peace. Here we are, bottom of the Smash Mountain, and today I'm so excited to be joined by the CEO of Melee TikTok. That's right, we have Zetts, who also has a Twitter handle at Smashcasts, joining me here today. Zetts, thank you so much for joining me.
Dude, Cypher, thanks for having me, man. I always kind of wanted to do something like this. You're the first person to reach out, and I've been looking forward to this, honestly, so let's do it.
Let's go. I was very surprised that Toph didn't just try to get you in on a Discord call or something while streaming and reviewing your TikTok content, because first of all, that was really cool to see. Toph has a really great hand on the pulse of the Melee community in general, and is a great individual. But I felt like that it wasn't quite complete. Did Toph try to reach out to you at all about the fact that he was streaming and looking at your stuff? Did somebody was like, Zetts, go into Toph's stream, try to get on? Did that happen at all, or did you just hear about it when it went up on YouTube?
Oh man, that whole thing. First of all, Toph is awesome. I got to commentate with him on 2 different occasions, and he's been a great guy to work with. And it was really nice of him to showcase my stuff to his following. I think he tweeted saying that he was going over Melee TikTok stuff, and then somebody immediately tagged me, almost as a joke. But then they responded, they're like, "Wait, no, this is actually you. This is not a joke." So unfortunately, I can't remember what I was doing. I was busy at the time, so I couldn't tune in while the stream was live. I did go back and watch the VOD and everything, and then he threw it up on YouTube as well. But yeah, so I couldn't jump in a call. He did not reach out to me personally or anything. But honestly, I was just really appreciative of him, being willing to check out my content and show it to his following. That was really nice of him. And I've had more than a couple people comment on clips I put on TikTok since then, saying, "Hey, I came from Toph's stream." So when community leaders do things like that, it actually really greatly benefits smaller creators like myself. That really goes a long way. So big shout out to Toph, man.
But if you ask the average TikTok user, you're the big Smash guy. You're the big Melee CEO of TikTok. That's a real thing, I think. Or would you disagree?
Yeah, it's really actually wild. I literally made the account maybe a little bit over a month ago now, and I don't think I ever could have dreamed that it would have taken off the way it has in this short of a period of time. And I think the very second clip, I guess we'll dive into it at some point. I don't know if you want to go into the weeds with it now, but I put up the CEO of Melee TikTok thing almost as a joke, but also to get people to recognize on Twitter, hey, you guys should start paying attention to this because there's a lot of potential here. And it took a couple weeks. It took until 2 weeks, but then people started really to look at it and think, wait a minute, what the fuck is happening? How is Zetts getting this many views on these clips on this platform that I don't care about, that I'm not on, that I'm not paying attention to? And by picking that name, I was pointing out hey, something is happening here, and if you're smart, you will start paying attention because there's so much potential here. And Cypher, I really am excited to dig into that as well, and really talk about, at some point, what I take to be the future, or a big part of the future of Melee, and what that kind of marketing and outreach is going to look like to me over the course of the next decade or so.
TikTok's here to stay, you think?
I have no idea what the longevity will look like, and I'm very new to the platform. Again, I literally created my account a month ago. I think I did technically download TikTok for fun, a year or even two ago, before I even thought about posting Melee content. And I had it for like a couple days, and then there were like, all those, I don't know if they were rumors, I don't know if they were facts. I'm not knowledgeable in this, so don't take my word for it. But people were saying like, oh, like it's not very safe. They take too much of your data. And I was like, well, I'm not even on this app like ever, so I deleted it. So my point is, I'm still insanely new to this platform, Cypher, and I'm learning more about it every single day. I am spending more time on it and like trying to immerse myself in the culture so I can kind of more understand the inner workings of it and everything. But to me, the potential of this platform is undeniable. And if you spend some time making content or even just consuming content on it, it becomes immediately obvious why it's been doing so well and why it's drawing in so many younger people, and how it's competing so well, Cypher, with a platform like YouTube, even with platforms like Twitch. And to me, if you're a creator in Melee or really literally anything, you're doing yourself a large disservice in many cases. TikTok's not for everybody, but so many creators could and should be pushing TikTok so much more. And I'm just a prime example of that.
I think that TikTok is the latest and greatest example of how if there are people who hop on the bandwagon on the early side, and to your point, it's been around for a little while now, but if you try to get in on the action before all of the big, slow, lazy corporations just sort of start to press down on the awesomeness of it, I kind of remember how Twitter was like a young hotshot thing and hardly anybody was on it, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh wait, now all these businesses are making Twitter accounts. Like that just sort of happens from social media platform to social media platform. But if you can get in kind of early and there's a lot of excitement and buzz just with a lot of people who are on the younger side and move the needle, it's great to take advantage of that, to be able to build a following. And then you might just be like an example of, and I don't want to jinx you, but like think of how Ninja was like one of the first big Twitch streamers, not the very first, but one of the first big Twitch streamers, had the all-time sub record for a while until our boy Ludwig destroyed it. But that's what I think of. I think of how there's potential with you, the way that you're doing your TikTok videos, how you can really capture a younger person's mind who is literally younger than the game of Melee itself that came out in 2001. And we're talking about 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds, all younger than the game, but being fascinated by it. And you're doing a great job of kind of capturing the storyline and also the hype and like putting it all together in a really great way. I love what you've done so far. And yes, let's talk about it a little bit, because in the podcasting world, we could take our time with this kind of stuff, and I like to talk about origin stories, but we can get to that later. This is kind of like the leading conversation. Right. I don't want to bury the lead too much, because you are our beloved CEO of Melee TikTok. So please, you can start with the origin story of what made you want to make that first video about Harry Pogger. Okay.
So I'll take one tiny step back beyond that and briefly tell you about the content I had been making in like the 2-ish years leading up to this, because I think that context is going to be really big for I think it might just be interesting, but also, again, if anybody is interested in making content whatsoever, I've learned so much. I've learned more in the past month about my own content and just like how I can become a better creator than I think I learned in the 2 years before that. So there's going to be some pretty big takeaways. When I first started making content, it was like very late 2018, and I made a YouTube video about this NEO or Northeast Ohio PGH Pittsburgh. Okay, so like that's always kind of been like these two neighboring regions that have been very fluid and very usually well connected. So practically one region, and they had like this series of Arcadians and invitational like side events along with the Arcadian, like a really, really interesting and cool structure for a tournament put on by PGH Carroll, like one of like the most legendary Midwest personalities and artists, really. And he is a SSBM artist of all time. They're putting this on. This is like the third iteration. And to me, when starting out, like I just wanted to make the content that I always wanted to see. So I wanted to make like a pregame thing. Like if you're watching like the NBA playoffs, for example, I actually really like basketball and football. If you tune on like to Fox or ESPN or something like that, you could see these personalities talking about the storylines leading up to the game. And there's like these stats and these figures and these models, and they go out of their way with this production value to bring you into our world if you are like just following, and it gets you caught up on why this is such an exciting event, and what you should be looking out for. And I think that kind of content and outreach goes so far in terms of getting people invested and excited about an event, and making them feel like that FOMO, fear of missing out. So I wanted to make that for this event, and I made a video, and it was really fun. I think I got like 200 views on it, and I was like thrilled because it was like really my first YouTube video. And I was like, okay, cool. So I started making more videos, and I was like learning as I went along, and I started making other things I wanted to see, because so I made a video about like, okay, like this is what's going to happen this weekend. Here's like my projected top 8. Like I kind of made predictions and stuff like that too. But I also wanted to do like recap stuff, because to me, the biggest thing I always wanted from Melee content that I never had, that nobody else was making, was like, let's say like you can't watch all of Shine top 8, or like maybe you're like gone that whole weekend, like you're on vacation with your family, maybe you're in college and like you're working a part-time job at the time, so you miss like a lot of a weekend of Melee. It's really hard to like catch up on what you missed, or at least it was very hard in like the mid and late 2010s, in my opinion. Like you're realistically unless you're a huge fan, you're not going to go back through the VODs and watch literally the entire VOD of Top 64. And maybe you'll watch some of the top 8 matches that you heard were really good, but at the same time, like a lot of it kind of gets spoiled for you. And I always got brought back to like NFL primetime. And if you've watched any of my content, you know how like emergent my current content is from NFL primetime with Chris Berman and the music and everything. But I wanted like a 5 to 10 minute recap that like takes you through the narrative and doesn't like spoil things out the get-go, but it takes you through like the emotional swings, and like, oh, like, game 2, like Leffen Mango, like Mango's up 1 game, and like Leffen's on his last foot, and like, oh, Mango goes up 2-0, but now Mango homie socks Leffen in game 3, and then he loses, and then Leffen reverse 3 socks him, like, or reverse 3-0s him, excuse me. Like that kind of thing to like make it easier for people to catch up on like the most important things that they missed, and just again make it as easy as possible for people to follow along in the scene and stay connected with what's important. I think that kind of content would have been really entertaining, and I started making a couple videos like that, but to be honest, I lacked the discipline and the work ethic to improve and to really put out content often enough. So if you look at my old YouTube channel, there was usually like a several period of like weeks or even months between different videos. And eventually I kind of fizzled out of all of it. Throughout like the pandemic and stuff last year, I always told myself I wanted to make more content, but I just kind of wasn't. And for me, and like I just had like this mental block, Cypher, where I knew I wanted to make content, but the idea of making a YouTube video is like very daunting. In many ways, it's intimidating. You spend so many hours on this project that you love so much, that you put your heart and soul into, and it might not turn out the way that you want, and it might not get the reaction that you want, and maybe not as many people watched it as you wanted. Maybe you had like a goal. It's like, oh, I really want this one to hit like 3,000 views. Like that would be really cool. That would be growth. And that can all be very discouraging from even like sitting down and getting started and getting engaged in your work. And I wasn't really able to push past that. And I always really looked up to people for that reason, like Turned Down for Walt and Radar, who are really killing it right now and putting out a lot of great content, because they were able to kind of push past that and stay disciplined and stay dedicated, learn from their failures. And now they're very, very successful, and they deserve the success that they have. But for me, I couldn't do it. And for that reason, I had not released a YouTube video in like over a year, which was really sad, because I was starting to get better. One of my videos got to like 13 or 14,000 views. And like, that was like a sign to me at the time, like, hey, like you're onto something here. Like people are responding well, keep going. And sadly, for a lot of like personal reasons, I did not keep going. But then I talked to my friend Matt Atari, and this is where TikTok comes into play. If you're not on TikTok, or you're not like on Twitter in this space where you would have seen that my guy, Matt Atari, congratulations, recently just hit 60,000 followers on TikTok. He's a great person. He makes amazing content. You guys should follow him on TikTok and Twitter.
Let's go.
I know, right? So he was tweeting all the time about like, oh my God, I can't believe I have like 10,000 followers on TikTok now. Holy crap, my video hit 600,000 views. And I kept seeing that and I would like them. And I was like, what is going on? And eventually my curiosity like overflowed and I reached out to him and I was like, dude, what the fuck is happening? So I got into a voice call with him. I talked to him for like an hour. And this is like 5 weeks ago. So like within a week from this conversation, I would post that Harry Poggers clip, right? And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, nobody in the Smash community whatsoever appreciates the potential of this platform. It's insane. The discoverability is wild. And it's like the Wild West out here. And like I'm screaming into this void of Twitter and nobody's listening. And I was like, holy shit. And it also clicked to me, Cypher. I thought to myself, I was like, okay, so I really want, like on a conceptual level, I want to be able to sit down and make Melee content. And I think it'd be cool. I like the idea of releasing a long YouTube video that people like and comment, and I can engage with those comments, and there's a community, and we're having discussions about this game I love so much. But I have that mental block where I can't sit down and work for 4 hours on something and then go to bed knowing maybe I only got 5% closer to that goal. Like I just wasn't in a space where I could do that. But I can sit down and work for 4 hours on a clip that I finish in that time and release. So that was the mental trick for me was, okay, if I can sit down and know that at the end of this productivity session that the content I make is done and I get to release it and I get that feedback from people, I can push through. So that was really why I decided to try it. It was that along with the potential that I saw from Matt Atari, and he was making ultimate content for the most part. He was doing like he has this series like Smash Facts You Probably Didn't Know About, and like I didn't realize it at the time. And this is going to be another huge takeaway, Cypher. But the reason to me that was doing so well was he was engaging a young audience on TikTok that maybe they play Smash casually with their friends and they like Nintendo characters. They're not very interested in the competitive scene yet, but he's reaching out to them and he's sprinkling little nuggets of information and getting them more and more interested in it. And that ramps up. So now eventually they follow him like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I like his voice. I like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater character selection music that he has in the background. But then they start watching more and more clips, Cypher, and then all of a sudden you find yourself like being really interested in this game. And that's kind of how it always goes, you know, like you find like anything that you like about something. I remember when I started getting into the NFL, it was because I happened to watch the Super Bowl of the Patriots versus the Falcons, where they were down 28-3 like halfway through the third quarter, and then Tom Brady obviously like leads into like what is quite possibly the greatest comeback story in the history of professional sports. They win in overtime. I was like, wow. And I started listening to shows like Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless. I was listening to The Herd with Colin Cowherd, and I honestly fell in love with those personalities. I loved listening to them talk about sports. And because I love listening to them talk about sports, I'd listen to them talk about them all the time. And by proxy, I end up getting more interested in the sports themselves and the storylines. So Matt Atari is doing a great job of building his own community and getting people interested in Ultimate. I decide, all right, I'm going to try this. And right when I decided to try this, my good friend Tyler, who I was just in a voice chat with, who I just saw at the first Rubes Day back, I'm like going in a million directions right now, but Rubes Day is a very legendary and storied local tournament in my hometown of Columbus, Ohio. And we just had our first local back in over a year this past Tuesday, so I'm very excited about that. Shout out to Tyler. His old tag was Free Balloon Day, but for some reason he entered this Netplay tournament as Harry Poggers. And if anybody watched that clip or just like heard the news, it was pretty big all over Smash Twitter, so I'm guessing all the listeners kind of know the story by now. But Harry Poggers, man, he takes game one. HBox hits 4 rests in game 2 and dominantly just kind of asserts himself on Fountain in game 2. And then the rest is history. Harry Poggers pulls it out in game 3. He wins a best of 3 net play set over a 3-time greatest player in the world. And the thing is, like, I felt like for a while, most of the players that Hungrybox was losing to on net play, it's like, okay, he shouldn't be losing to that person, but hey, that's a really good and well-known player. And then he loses to Harry Poggers, who literally nobody knew, because Free Balloon Day is already a hidden boss in our region for the most part. If you're outside the Midwest, you probably don't know about Free Balloon Day. But he wasn't even operating under that tag. He was literally just Harry Poggers. So to me, that is just such a great story, and it's my friend, so it was easy to get excited about it. So I made that clip, put it on TikTok, 200 views. And again, I had literally 0 followers. So I'm like, okay, for 0 followers, and this is doing 200 views, fine. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's see what happens. I was very driven at this point, and I was like, I think that there's potential here. I think it's like I was at a mountain, and I was like digging for like the diamond, and I suspected that the diamond was like right at the freaking edge, and that nobody else is coming to this mountain, basically. So I'm like, okay, 200 views, like let's keep hacking away. The next one I make is Shroomed versus Leffen. It's when he was still playing Dr. Mario at like Big House 4, like winners round 1 or 2 or something. And it's such a like under the radar set that like, again, 2014 Melee started to explode in popularity, but a lot of the community wasn't around back in early 2014 or late 2014, excuse me. That was October. So like a lot of people don't know about that story, and it doesn't even have like that many views on YouTube, but it's like such a cool moment where Shroom got insanely close to literally reverse 4-stocking Leffen on a pretty big stage back when Leffen was starting to come up, and Leffen would go on to do some pretty incredible things. I think he made it all the way to winners semis of that tournament. It might have been winners finals, actually. I think he beat Armada at that tournament as well. If I'm wrong about this, people are going to roast me in the comments. But my point is, I thought, like, that's a really cool story, and I'm going to package that one. It was always in my mind as, like, that would be good content, because it's like a good enough story that nobody thinks about. Nobody talks about that. And that's kind of been what I wanted to do. Threw that out on TikTok, like, at, like, 11 p.m. at night when I finished it. And I woke up, and it had, like, 15,000 views. And I popped the fuck off, Cypher, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is happening? This is already my most successful piece of content I've ever made in my life. And it's all happening in less than 24 hours. So that was when I was like, oh my fucking God, like, this is the real deal. Like, Matatari isn't a unicorn. Like, there is just actually potential here for Smash Brothers content on the hypest, the newest, the freshest social media platform around. And once that happened, I was like, okay, let's fucking go. That might have even been when I said I'm the CEO of Melee TikTok, because to me, and I feel like this is like, you know, like, I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but I see myself as kind of pioneering this new frontier. And and honestly, I see it as a huge opportunity, and a huge responsibility, because I genuinely believe that if I'm successful enough and I can like really get even more people, because I think I'm closing in on like 15,000 followers in like a month. That's like fucking wild, right? And if I can keep this pace up and grow this account, like, obviously that'll be good for me, but it'll be amazing for the scene. Like, the opportunity for us to reach out to younger people and get them in, that is so crucially important. And I feel like, again, I'm taking up so much space. I just want to say one last thing, and then I'll give you some more time, Cypher. But to me, I think I'm now filling a very important niche in the community that wasn't being explicitly marketed for. Okay, and to me, that is specifically marketing Melee content to people who don't already care or know almost anything about it. And this isn't me throwing shade at other content creators. Everybody plays a different role in the funnel. You know what I mean? So like if you think of like a Ginger or a PPMD, they're incredibly analytical, and they're very strategy and educational based content. So unless you fall in love with them as personalities, which isn't impossible, I really like both of those people, and I know Ginger personally. Avery's a great guy. Shout out to him. He just got verified on Twitter recently. Let's fucking go. Super proud of my boy.
Love that number 28 for Luminosity Gaming. Woo!
Exactly, man. But my point is, Ginger's content is great for people that already love Melee, but it's not gonna do as well with people who don't care about Melee, because he's so far into the weeds. You know what I mean? So there's levels to this. Like, to me, I'm like the very first rung on this ladder, or as somebody else put it, I'm the widest part of this funnel. And I'm just trying to get you to care about Melee at all. I'm trying to take you from, I've played Smash before, I mostly play Ultimate with my friends, to, holy shit, that old Smash game looks way cooler. And then get you to, wait, I can play this easily, like, on my laptop, and then now you're downloading Slippy. Now you're watching shit on Twitch. Now you're watching Turn Down for Walt YouTube videos, okay? So I'm the fucking person trying to funnel people into this community that aren't already in it. And honestly, it's a huge responsibility, and I'm going to try to take it as seriously as I can. And I really appreciate all the support I've been getting from so many people. Many prominent people have reached out and said so many kind things and offered to help me out. Dark Gen X is like the fucking homie. I want to give him a shout out too, because he's helped me so much in the past couple weeks. And to me, he's the goated Twitter Melee content creator. Nobody does it better than him on Twitter. And I think that's pretty obvious. And he has been so huge and spending so much time with me to give me advice and take a look at my stuff and help me with problems. And that's the cool thing about the community, man, is like they'll fucking, when they see that you're doing something for the betterment of the community, they love that and they want to support you. And I felt that a lot recently. So that's a little bit of my journey over the past like couple years into this past month, in a nutshell, in like a 20-minute nutshell. I am a bit of a rambler, as you can tell. So yeah, does that answer your question?
I almost feel like not saying anything just to be like, wait, did he get disconnected? Ah, shit. But no, that answers the question very well. Yes, I would say, first of all, when LSD put out that video of like the scariest thing you'll see on this website referring to Twitter, and it's just Leffen replying, you don't even see anything that Leffen says. It's just his avatar of like the Pepe Fox or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. It was super hilarious. And then I was like, oh, credits to Dark Gen X at the bottom. Well, that makes sense. Dark Gen X is hilarious and very much understands like how to ride that line of hilarious, and also makes sense to a lot of Melee people. Even people who are not super deep into Melee, they can still understand, oh yeah, that's right. If Leffen is in your replies, then you could very well be in for quite an afternoon while that's happening. But the all that to say, to sort of summarize what you've been doing in this past month, it's almost as if you have lived like a lifetime of content creation just because of how crazy it's been. Would you agree with that, or does it feel different?
I basically doubled my total content creation output, like lifetime, in the past month. Because, I mean, technically, if you look at my YouTube, I probably have a couple hours worth of content because, like, and this is another thing I'm interested in sharing. One of my videos, I did this documentary on YouTube of this tournament series that's very near and dear to me, based out of Champaign, called the House of Pain series. And it ended up being 45 minutes long. And it did not need to be 45 minutes long, to put it bluntly. And that's a lot of why it doesn't have, thousands or tens of thousands of views on YouTube. So what was my I guess my point is, like, just in terms of like hours put in, I really have grinded out the past month. I'm looking now, I think I have 15 clips. They all take about 3 hours. So I guess I put about 45 hours in. I guess it doesn't sound like that much, but, and I'm not trying to make excuses. I had like a ton of birthday parties, like a wedding, like a bachelor's party that took up like an entire weekend. So it's been and I also started a new job like 3 weeks before this all started. So balancing all of this and going from a pretty lazy, apathetic individual, like legitimately, like two or three months ago, Cypher, like, not gonna lie, I wasn't like in a great spot. Like, I wasn't in a terrible spot mentally, but like I was changing jobs, and the last job didn't work out that well, which was kind of similar to like many of the other jobs I've had in my 20s. And I just kind of felt stuck, and I didn't feel like I had like much of a purpose. And I'm not trying to go down like this dark path with you right now or anything, but I just had like a lot of like challenges and problems I needed to address, and I wasn't really, expending a lot of energy on a daily basis towards addressing them. My lifestyle wasn't really such that I was moving in the right direction very quickly. And I think a lot of people get stuck in those ruts, right? But like, I almost don't even recognize myself, like who I am, like in this moment today, from like 2 or 3 months ago. Like, this new job has been incredible for me. It's given me a lot of structure and allowed me to become just a much more disciplined and productive individual. And I've taken those skills I've been building on and like just thrown them into this account. And again, it's been more successful than I ever could have imagined. But just sitting down and working on 15 of these over the past 4 weeks, spending on average probably about 3 hours on each one. I mean, it's been a grind, and it's been an amazing experience, I'm happy to do it. That's how you get better at anything. And I feel like I've learned so much, but it's crazy too, because I feel like I have so much more to learn, and I also literally don't even know what I'm doing. Like I am at the bottom of the Smash content mountain on TikTok. Okay. This is only the beginning, and I'm really excited to see what I'm able to accomplish for myself and, again, for the entire community over the course of the next couple months here.
I love the fact that you feel like that you're at the bottom of the TikTok mountain, but that's not really true, because you have videos that have gotten hundreds of thousands of views. Like your TikTok videos have gotten hundreds of thousands of views on some of them. Not that all of them are at that level, but the point is that you have experienced already a lot of success. Let me rewind here a little bit, because I wanted to highlight what you were saying about you really don't recognize yourself as compared to where you were a few months ago. I think that a lot of people can relate to that because of how this pandemic has affected people from this way or from that way. A lot of people haven't been able to keep jobs. A lot of people have gone from job to job because they get furloughed or they get laid off because, we're in these unprecedented times, and you're like, well, you hired me during the unprecedented times. Hello. And they just get bounced around, and it just sometimes feels like, especially people in their 20s, like I'm 25, like people can you feel like there's almost a bit of like a drifting moment happening, and you're going, did I peak like 3 years ago and I just haven't known it this whole time? What is going on with my life? But I love how you've been able to stay connected to a community that is helping you and encouraging you, and then you get to the point where you're ready to try something new, and the new thing is immediately rewarding. I'm sure that everybody wishes that's how it goes if they say to themselves, I'm going to learn how to play the piano. Like, if somebody like you, Zetts, started learning the piano and had your luck, they would be like freaking Beethoven by now in terms of Mozart levels of piano skills. I really feel like you popped off right away, and that's so cool. I love hearing how there's a bit of a journey to it, though. Like, because to some people, it's almost as if you started TikTok on a whim, but I think that a lot of things had to happen in order for you to get here, and you may disagree with me, but it's just so funny and so interesting, like in all of the stuff that you've done in Melee, trying to experiment with content creation, with YouTube specifically, understanding how hard it is to do that, because I agree, it's very hard. That's why I don't try. I just stick to audio and podcasting because that's what I can do. That's what I can do with my resources. But for you, you're able to try the YouTube thing. It doesn't really work. It's not going the way that you want it to, and that's fine. And then you try TikTok and it pops off, and you're like, wait, there's not only is this very rewarding to me, lots of dopamine from all this attention, we take those, but you're also doing that important great power, great responsibility piece, which I really appreciate hearing how you're recognizing that there's a lot of people who are seeing Melee for the first time because of the videos that they see that I'm putting out, and I want to try to take extra care to make sure that what I present is not necessarily saying, hey, everything's all good all the time, but just to say, this is why we love Melee, and this is why you can love Melee too. You could join us. You could be part of the Melee community. It's very cool to hear how you want to be intentional with that as well.
I love so much of that, and I think I have two main responses. One just in regards to like all the struggles that many people have been going through throughout the pandemic, and how I'm sure, like, you're probably right. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to kind of like how I was feeling a couple months ago. And to me, like, one takeaway that I hope would be encouraging to anybody is really, to me, your life can change a bit more quickly than you think. And obviously, like, I look like a bit of an outlier, but that's also kind of deceiving, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like, I'll give you a separate example first. I was speaking with Radstads, who is a really nice guy, and he actually is TikTok's, I'm sorry, not TikTok, he's Ludwig's TikTok editor, but he also works in social media for Panda Global. And Dark Gen X actually introduced me to Radstads, and Radstads is awesome. I just like cold DM'd him and introduced myself and said like, hey man, like, I'd really love to pick your brain. Like, it seems like you really know a lot about the kind of stuff I'm trying to do. And he was more than happy to talk to me for about an hour. And he gave me a lot of great ideas. But I learned a bit about his story too. And he really got into all this stuff like about a year ago. I won't share like his entire like life story or anything, but he was telling me about how like kind of like on a whim, he decided to get into like this social media stuff. He decided to like, try to learn more about like TikTok and branding and posting on websites like Twitter. And he applied for this internship with Panda Global, and he happened to get it. And then he's working there, and it's going well, and he's learning more, and he's like really engaged. And like all of a sudden, like he's, his internship becomes more of like a role where he is working part time, and then like that leads to him, like he's literally like Ludwig's TikTok editor now, which is like an insanely awesome opportunity for somebody who's really only been in this industry for about a year. And for me, like I decided like I'm gonna try something, and it worked out really, really quickly, and it has changed my life. But at the same time, and you alluded to this, I've been building the building blocks of this like seemingly overnight success for many years. One, just in me being immersed in this community. I've been showing up to events just because I love the community. Like I didn't go to tournaments obviously so that I could, make these TikTok videos like 7 or 8 years later. But I followed what I loved and what I cared about, and I was always going to these tournaments and competing, and I was very immersed. I was watching and paying attention and staying up to date, and I know so much about the community, especially since early 2013. So like I happen to know a lot, and I've put in a lot of time into becoming a huge fanatic of this game. And I was making content before on YouTube and stuff, and I learned a lot from my failures there. And to me, the biggest thing was like trying to figure out what am I good at, and trying to double down on that and find a way to like find the overlap between what I like and what I'm good at. Because like for me, I think there were some moments on my YouTube videos that were good, but they usually were just too long. If you look at a lot of my videos on YouTube, they were just like way too long. I made this very intricate, in-depth, passionate video about Dreffen, and we can talk about the Twitter Dreffen clip next if you'd like. But, and I'll allude to that. I posted a very short clip of a 35 or so minute documentary that I made about Dreffen and his run at Smash and Splash 5 in 2019, which was an immaculate moment in Melee history, in my opinion. I almost want to go back and redo it because I think I could do it so much better now. And I think it's a story truly worth telling, well enough for people to be willing to hear it. But TikTok forced me to do shit in 60 seconds or less. So I had to trim all the fat out, and I had to only stick to the things I was very best at. So I set these narratives up very, very quickly. I cut out a lot of the small details that I really wanted to include because I was so passionate about those details. Whereas somebody who isn't as interested in the community, like that might not resonate with them. I'm going to lose them in like the 12-minute explanation of why this game of Melee was so important, But like just simply by trying new things, I happened to like start doing well on TikTok. And then later I look back and realize, oh, my YouTube videos were way too long. TikTok forced me to do short videos, and that helped me realize, okay, that was a mistake I was making before. And now like I can go back and learn from that. But just like, so my takeaways there, if you're struggling, like just remind yourself that you can change things more quickly than you think. Like your life can really change a bit more quickly than you think. You'll start seeing results, and you'll get positive momentum, and that will encourage the fuck out of you to keep going and to double down and to try even harder. But also pick something that you actually like, because it'll be so much easier to do something that you like. Believe that you can be successful. Don't think that you have to do something, like don't like play it safe, in my opinion. Like have like a backup plan, like have financial stability and all that. Like I'm not trying to like give people like irresponsible advice, but keep trying new things, and you're going to learn along the way, and you're going to get better. And if you don't give up, you'll inevitably be successful. And again, I tried over the course of a couple of years to do this kind of thing. And eventually I tried enough new things where I found what I'm good at, and now I can like double down on that and continue to learn. And it really feels like the sky is the limit at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I've been through a lot of really tough times in my life, and I feel incredibly fortunate and blessed to be in the position that I'm in right now. Again, I feel like a completely different person. And if anybody is going through anything, or if any of this resonates with anybody, I'd super encourage you to reach out to me. I'd love to help anybody in any way that I can, especially just because I feel like I've come out the other end. and I kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel now. And sometimes it's hard to see that light. It's hard to believe that it's even there, but it really can be, and it can be a lot closer than you think. So don't ever forget that.
You talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. I want to ask you about the Dreffin tweets, the clip. I wanted to say tweet and clip at the same time, so that's on me. But we got to talk about Rubes Day, because I saw your commentary of the last stock situation between Spinda and who was the other player? Was the Marth player? Oh no.
Yeah, BY15 stands for Ban Yoshi 2015, but his name is Garrett. So you heard me refer to him as Gare Bear affectionately multiple times.
I was wondering what was up with that, but this was an in-person local, and everyone's vaxxed up and trying to do the social distancing thing, of course, but all the homies are back together. It's that light at the end of the tunnel thing. If you want to talk about your experience of the first local back.
Oh my God. Well, I love this particular local series. We've talked about it, Rubes Day. It's at a Ruby Tuesday, and it's not the chain restaurant that you're thinking. It's actually just a dive bar, okay? And the funny thing about this dive bar that I love so much, in college, I lived right across the street from it. They had these like combination trivia plus karaoke nights. They called Trivioke, where you do like trivia, and then the winning team picks a song that the losing team has to sing on stage. Immensely fun. It was so great. Like everybody at like this place I worked at in college, like we all would go, and those are some of the best memories I had in college. Eventually, we had been hosting tournaments at this Donato's on Ohio State's campus, and anybody who has ever been a part of OSU Melee knows all about this. But for many, many reasons, that venue stopped working for us, and we needed a new venue. So I reached out to these guys because I had built connections and relationships with the owners of this bar and the bartenders at Rubes Day, or I'm sorry, at Ruby Tuesday for so long. I reached out to them. The funny thing, though, real quick about Ruby Tuesday is that the reason that you'll never see a chain Ruby Tuesday restaurant anywhere near Ohio State's campus is because when the chain found out about the existence of the dive bar that shares its name, the chain sued the dive bar, and they sued them for stealing the name, right? Because they had the trademark, they had the rights, okay? But what they didn't realize, Cypher, was that the dive bar actually predates the chain.
Oh my gosh.
So the dive bar countersues and wins, gets this huge fucking settlement, and they win in the settlement that the chain can't have any sites within like a 15 or so mile radius of the dive bar.
Oh my goodness.
It's like such an awesome story, and I love the story and the bar so much, and it's really cool. Like they have like these like projector screens that we can hook the setup to, so like everybody who's sitting like in this like side like party room area for the bar can see like top 8 happening on these huge projector screens that like they have for like all these different events. That's really cool. They have like pizza and stuff, but it's just like a really chill bar, like right off of Ohio State's campus. Great location, amazing vibes. And at the very first Rubes Day, we just kind of knew this is something special. This is magical. We started that a couple years ago, and I had to stop being the head TO at one point because I got a new job that conflicted with it just in terms of time. But other people like Boded, like R2, like Burke, like Nate, Supernac, so many people in our local community stepped up and helped keep Rubes Day alive. And it's on Tuesdays at Ruby Tuesdays. That's why we call it Rubes Day. But yeah, first local back. We hadn't had any locals in over a year. And I historically have been a very, very competitive person. I have a very disagreeable personality. I want to beat people. I want to do my best. And even I just ended up getting super drunk, having fun, playing Falcon, hanging out with the homies, not taking it too seriously. It was amazing seeing people. I saw people I haven't seen literally since the beginning of the pandemic, and just being able to hug them, to take pictures with them, to catch up with them, to be in the same space as them. It felt surreal, but it felt very needed. And I think everybody's souls are collectively, we're all our spirits are in a better place. And the best part is every goddamn Tuesday for the foreseeable future, we get this again. It's just the beginning. So Melee is really back. It really feels back. And it's a very, very, very exciting time to be a part of the community, in my opinion. And yeah, if you're listening to this, you should go to your local, support your local, and go hang out with the freaking homies. It's so sick.
Now that you're sort of like the CEO, well, sorry, sort of. I mean, you really are the CEO of Melee TikTok. When you have a last stock situation like that, and you're going nuts on the mic, and it's super awesome. I watched it several times over. I just like had this big smile going like, oh, this is the true awesome spaghetti melee that like I know everyone is freaking out at the Ruby Tuesday. Oh, it's so cool. But do you say to yourself right afterwards, I should put this on my TikTok? Like, when do you try to fight that urge back to go, wait a minute, I shouldn't be in content creator mode at all times. I got to hang out with the homies right now. Or maybe you were a little bit too inebriated to have this entire thought process, because that's what I'm thinking. But what were you thinking at the time that it was happening?
That's a really good question. And anybody who's listening, you should find that clip. I'm trying to remember who tweeted it. It might have been, it was Frecky, Frecky or Freckydelic on Twitter.
Description of this podcast will have that clip.
Okay, awesome, cool. So that clip, I was so freaking drunk for it. But it's funny because like I think anybody who competes or is creative in any way, I think you have to fight those. You could refer to them as like meta thoughts, like thoughts about something that take you away from it. It takes you out of your immersion. Like it's hard to remember because I was so immersed in that moment. Like you could call it a flow state. People are pretty familiar with that like pop psychology term at this point. Like when you're really, really good at something, but you also, but it's also a very difficult thing to do. You're able to like focus extremely hard, and you're focusing so hard on the thing that you're almost focusing more on that thing, whatever it is, than the fact that you're even a person being alive. Like you're breathing, you're talking, the process of you going about whatever it is, whether it's commentating a set of Melee or playing guitar or running a marathon, even like literally anything like that. You lose yourself in the moment, like like the whole Eminem thing, mom spaghetti. And speaking of spaghetti, I'm commentating this Melee set that's ending in complete spaghetti. And I don't think in that moment I ever thought, oh, this could go on TikTok, because that's my favorite part of honestly commentating is when shit is going wild and I just get permission to just go crazy and to just like take my filter off and just like let the world know what is going through my head. That's just really fun to me because I never know what's going to happen. I don't have a filter in that moment. So whatever I think, it just comes out, and it's very authentic. And I think that's a little bit of like my like brand and style in my commentary is, for a while I was trying like the esports thing, and I think I can do that if I have to, but I think what people always respected and appreciated more, especially if you think about old school commentary, Cypher, if you're thinking about like a waffle, for example, homemade waffles, a lot of those old school guys, like think about like Wombo Combo, like they weren't thinking of themselves as commentators. They were like homies who happened to be sitting in front of a mic, like cracking jokes with each other, watching their friends play people that they were hoping would like beat their asses. You know what I mean? So that kind of like vibe and aesthetic, I think drew a lot of people into Melee in like the late 2000s and early 2010s. And then we went into that esports era where people tried to do the ESPN thing. And I think there needs to be kind of like a healthy balance there. I'm going in so many different directions. It's kind of like my the way my brain works. But to bring it back, like there's been many times in my competitive career where like I'll like hit like a really, really cool string of moves. Like I'll have a combo going. And you get like the really, really hard thing. Like you get like a jump cancel shine, wave shine, turnaround, up tilt, you wave line onto the platform and tomahawk grab their shield because they're going to shield, and then you hit something. Like, and like, but in your moment, you have that thought of, holy shit, that was all really good. But the moment you have that thought, you're not thinking about playing. So like you're not immersed. You're not in that flow state anymore. And you're no longer expending all of your mental energy on trying to do your very best. So to me, like, I don't want to be thinking on the mic to what extent this will be good content. I don't think that Ludwig thinks about that kind of thing. I think he's just very in the moment and just trying to do his very best at all times to be entertaining and to showcase his personality and to riff with the people that he's working with. And the moment you start thinking about those meta things of, oh, okay, that's going to be a really good clip, you're no longer really doing your job. You're kind of like, it's almost like mental masturbation at that point. And it feels good to be like, oh man, yeah, I really cracked a good joke. Chat's gonna love that one. Yeah, but that's not helping you crack your next joke. So I think being in the moment is really important. And I did, going into Rubes Day, I told myself, okay, it would be really cool if I got like videos of like me walking into Rubes Day, and like I got a couple like little B-rolls of like people playing and stuff like that, and I could tell some sort of story. But I ended up getting way too drunk and just having way too much fun to even remember. It was like midnight, and I got home with my friend, and I was like, I just thought to myself, I forgot to like literally do any of that. I looked at my camera roll and I had one picture, and I will treasure that picture for the rest of my life. Shout outs to Woke Fox.
Let's go. So you've never had, in your attempts at being in the moment, you've never had like a tree moment where somebody goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's always been there.
I feel like I'm exposing myself, but I don't know that I recognize the reference. The tree? What's that?
So
What?
Hungrybox was on the couch at one of the more recent Smash Summits, maybe Smash Summit 8 or 9, and
Okay.
and Axe is hitting like a really cool combo, and Hungrybox was trying to say, "Oh, it's like a combo tree that Axe is really hitting right now with the Pikachu." I think it was even against Wizzy. It might have been their Summit rematch, like because Axe won against. You've already done the TikTok on this. Why am I telling you that? The point is that they're playing against each other, and I'm pretty sure it's Axe versus Wizzy again, and he just yells out tree, and they're on Dreamland, and Chillin's like, yeah, that's always been there. So I'll have to find it and send it to you. But it was just one of those things where it's like you want to be in the moment, you want to say something that's really cool at the same time also, and then you just land in the middle where you yell out tree. Have you ever had one of those moments while commentating?
Oh my God, I'm sure. Okay, so there was this was an offline, like this was not recorded, but the genesis of, and not like the tournament series, but like the beginnings of me commentating, like my grandfather was a commentator, but never like officially. Like he never did like sitting in front of a mic and broadcasting it to people, but he commentated sports. He commentated baseball, and he would do it to himself while he was watching these sports in his living room to amuse himself. And I very much look up to my grandfather in many ways. He has an incredible voice, and he's really good at commentary. I would just be sitting on his lap at a very young age and listening to him commentate baseball games. And that really like rubbed off on me. So like, I think I took that from him, and I would just find myself like almost like jokingly, like tongue in cheek, commentating things kind of for fun throughout my life. Like depending on what it is, like maybe I'm playing pool with some friends at a bar or something, and I'll start commentating it as if it's like a really important like game of pool, and there's all these stakes, and I'll poke fun at my friends who mess up and stuff. And I found myself doing that at like these tournaments at Columbus in the basement of this Donato's. And one time I was commentating, and the thing is, I'm just like literally standing behind these players and commentating their match loudly enough for everybody to hear, including the players, of course. And so like I think a good amount of people would laugh, but there were definitely times where it was too much, and I was just way too over the top, or I just needed to shut the fuck up. I was annoying people, something like that. There was this one time where I was commentating Hanky Panky, and everybody knows Hanky now, but I can't remember who he was. It might have been Prince Abu, which Prince Abu actually went to Ohio State, and he was pretty pivotal in the OSU Melee scene. Not a lot of people know that anymore, but he's one of the godfathers of the modern OSU Melee community and scene, whether people realize that or not. Anyway, I think they were playing, and I was commentating, and I cracked a couple jokes up to this point that had gone pretty well, so I was feeling myself. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get that point of confidence where, like, you might be a little too unhinged, and you get overconfident. And Hanky ends up pulling a bomb somehow, and I say something to the effect of, "Oh my God, Hanky pulls a bomb! He's a fucking terrorist!" And everybody, like, it was like record scratch. Like, it was a record scratch moment where, like, even like the players like almost stopped and looked at me and were like, "Dude, that was like a really fucked up thing to say."
Yeah, so I can see that.
That one didn't go over so well. I'm sure I've had more. That was just the first one that came to me. But that's the thing about like any kind of creative pursuit is you're gonna hold a lot of L's, and that's just a part of the game. You know, every great comedian. Live. Oh my God, yeah. You don't get a do-over. There are no do-overs live. And every comedian has been booed off stage. They all have these horror stories, but ultimately, like, you're gonna make big mistakes, and people will blow you up in the chat, but eventually that doesn't matter as much, and you kind of get over that fear, and then that kind of helps you be, again, more in the moment and commentate a bit more authentically. The fact that, oh, this time I'm commentating and there's 10,000 people watching because it's Shine or something, that doesn't cross your mind as much, and it doesn't affect the way that you go about the commentary as much.
Very cool. And I'm just so happy to hear that, like, again, this is just the sort of thing where you've been commentating for long enough that you were ready for the TikTok when it happened. And we've already talked about how there was just things that had to happen first. You had to immerse yourself in the scene, be a big part of the scene, and know all of these different things about Melee before you could make videos that not only are, and this is a great compliment to you, by the way. How many times have we heard throughout all of content history in regards to Melee where people who are really in Melee have a lot of criticism because they're like, this is inaccurate. If you actually look at the frame data or look at the facts, or that's not what actually happened, or
Right.
if you're a new person to Melee, you'll go, what is going on? This is all too deep for me. Like, the content doesn't capture everybody, and yet somehow yours is, because I don't know as much as you do about Melee. I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Been following along since the end of 2018, more or less, and now I'm just doing content since January for the podcast, so not super deep yet, but I really enjoy your videos, dude. I think it's a great compliment to you that your videos strike that balance, the almost impossible balance of appealing to new people and also people who've been in the scene for a long time.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And like, to me, like, I'm almost surprised that nobody has done this kind of thing before. We're a pretty big community, but like, if you look at like any community, like, there's only going to be some percentage of people that really take content creation seriously. And again, I want to like throw a lot of compliments towards people like Turn Down for Walt, like Awesome Sauce, like Radar, like Wisely when he makes Melee content. A ton of other people.
Yes, Wisely. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there are more people on separate platforms that are making really good content that's also accessible. I think Awesome Sauce is arguably, he's got to be in like the Melee Content Creator Hall of Fame, like, already, just based on like how insane his YouTube channel has gotten, and the way that he has been able to share stories and just like tidbits of information about this game and somehow make it appealing to such a wide audience. The extent of his audience and his outreach, the numbers he's getting on these YouTube videos, I've never seen anything like it in like the 8 or so years I've been in the community. So I'm not the first person to make content that could appeal to that wide of an audience, but I am surprised that nobody else really tried TikTok. And I say that knowing that there were other people that tried. When I was on, I tweeted this like after I made like 1 or 2 clips. I was like, who else is on Melee TikTok? Like, it's kind of hard to find people on this platform. And I got like a list of names, and I looked through, and I think what's his name? Wasperjeed. I haven't talked to him yet, so I still don't know exactly how to pronounce his name.
This is Ginger's editor, Jasper. Like, I think I need to look up. I follow this person on the Twitter. Let me look this up while you're talking. But
okay.
Yes, that's one person. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so let me add some here. So these are 2 separate people. So Jasper, I think that's his name. That is Ginger's editor. I like him as well. But I'm looking now at Wasperjeed. He has a pretty big following on TikTok for Melee content as well. He's doing different content than me. But my point is, like, to me, it seemed obvious. Like, so much of the Melee content out there is marketed towards people who are already in the community. It's marketed towards the community itself, right? And like, to me, it just felt obvious. Like, why isn't there more that's trying to appeal to a much wider audience? Like, why isn't there more content that doesn't even use the term wave dash? Because most people don't know what the fuck that is, and that's just alienating them, confusing them, and getting them to swipe to the next video. that was the thing that always just like seemed obvious to me. And eventually, like, I just like said, fuck it, like I'm gonna do this. And I think that like usually the best content, and I mentioned this before, but it comes from you making the shit that you wish already existed. Like that's to me, like a lot of bands do that. Like they make the music that they want to be able to listen to, but just simply doesn't exist. So then they go out and make it. So figure out like, what do you really think would be a cool like market for your content in terms of like the Melee community or like whatever it is. But like, what can you add that isn't there that you think people would actually like? Like what would you like to be able to watch? That's like a really good starting point. And that's kind of what I try to do with my content. I'm trying to take somebody who has maybe never watched a single tournament, and maybe you've only played Ultimate, and you play in your friend's place, and you know you have fun, but it's not that big of a part of your life. And you don't know much about the Melee community. I want to take them and I want to help them experience the emotions that I felt when I watched these moments live. I want to help them understand the stakes and why these moments were so important, and just how crazy close some of these finishes were, and just help them feel that tension. And that's why I go so nuts on the mic, because we have a lot of history to make up for in 60 fucking seconds, Cypher. You know, so I've always just thought that something like this could be successful, and it took a while. It took a lot of trial and error, but I feel like I'm well on my way, and it's a really exciting place to be. And I'm at a place now where I have awesome people like you reaching out and being like, "Hey, like, come tell me your story," and that's really cool. Like, I really like being able to talk to people about things. So thank you for having me.
Yes, well, that's why I'm here, because I want to hear people's stories. And yes, if I can talk to someone who is a little bit higher on the influential scale, always excited about that as well. But I've been very happy to be able to have on just about anybody thus far who is willing to tell me their story and how Melee is a big part of it, because anyone who does that and likes Melee, participates in some degree, is contributing to the canvas of Melee. So your contribution, very important, because it's the new page, it's the new chapter, because of how new TikTok is and getting onto a platform where there's a lot of users that are on the younger side. And yes, getting younger people into something means that when they are closer to 25 or they're closer to 30, they might be the new Mangoes, the new Zanes, the new Armadas of the world, the new Hungry Box. You know what? I better stop, because I'm going to miss somebody, and then I'll go like, I'll have to name 100 names before anybody's even remotely happy with me. Like, how could you forget Fat Goku? He was the person that got niced in the Zetts TikTok video. How could you forget?
Oh my God. It's so wild. I've had two separate people to me jokingly use the term Zetts kids, as in people who like imagining a world like 5 years from now where like I get like a considerable amount of people into the scene, such that it's not like Doc kids, it's Zetts kids.
Well, what about the next TikTok convention of whatever kind? Everybody will be like, "You're the Melee guy."
Yeah. Oh man, if there's a TikTok convention, I'm gonna be like one of the oldest people there, but should be a good time. That's like a lot of the responses I was getting. And it's funny too, like I post a lot of my clips to Reddit, and some of them have done really well and others like don't do so well, but there's often a couple people who complain about TikTok, who say, I don't know why you're putting this on this platform, I don't want to watch it on this platform, do you have it on YouTube? Like, I want to watch it somewhere else. People like giving me other like bits of like feedback or criticism, and like I've had several people tell me like, why are you doing this voiceover? Just like put the original commentary, dude, this is cringe as fuck. And it's really funny, like, you know, people say that, you know, like for you to be successful, like you inevitably have to have haters, and I'm not like calling these people out, like they're giving me like their authentic feedback. I appreciate that. But like, I think it's really easy to get discouraged when you see people jumping into these comment sections of your YouTube videos or in Twitch chat and complaining about your commentary. But sometimes like they're actually just wrong. Like, you know, if two people are telling you completely different things, like, you know, I mean, I guess if it's an opinion, they can both like be in some sense right. But clearly a lot of people are resonating with what I'm doing. So like, you can make the decision to like not listen to the haters or the people that are, you know, giving you some pretty blunt feedback. You could take what you will from it. You could try to learn and grow from it. But Yeah, ultimately, like, just because people are like complaining about you or like throwing shade or hate your way, that doesn't mean you're not onto something. It doesn't mean you don't have potential. It doesn't mean you can't be successful. It doesn't mean that, you know, your next video couldn't be the one that blows up. So if you truly believe in what you're doing, stay the course, because like, if you're right, if you really are onto something and you think that you are providing value, then people will find you and they'll notice and they will support you. And then eventually the supporters will drown out the haters like 100-1.
Right. I think that the people who are willing to offer really negative feedback like that are not the people that you should be listening to when it comes to accepting any kind of feedback about what you're trying to do. With you specifically, I think that a lot of people assume, and they would be wrong, that it's, oh, this is a low effort thing. Like, Zetts is just taking stuff and putting it on TikTok and it just totally damaging the original piece that it used to be. Like, it's not even the whole set, but it's like, those people aren't really worth giving any time of the day to, in my opinion. And what you're doing, I think, far outweighs like any concern of like, oh, am I doing this right? Should I be doing the original audio? Should I be trying to focus on another part of the set leading up to the finale, to the climax? And it's like, no, I think what you're doing is great, first of all. And secondly, another piece of advice that I could give to someone who only seems willing to offer negative feedback is you can go and do it yourself. No one is stopping you from doing that. And that is a thing that I feel like I never want to let go of, because I used to think to myself, oh, I'd love to hear more interviews of people who've been in Melee. And then, yes, I was eventually inspired to do that. Shout out to the Wannabes podcast, the big part of it. So it's great that I get to do that. I get to have people like you on and we get to talk about stuff. And I love hearing what you have to say. And about TikTok specifically, because I don't intend on going onto that platform anytime soon, but I'm so happy that someone like you is. And if I had anything that I wanted to say that I viewed as feedback to you, I really don't want to tell you anything, because you're the one who's doing it and it's awesome and it's popping off. So who cares? It's great. Actually, in fact, it's not who cares. In fact, it's like, this is excellent. Everybody should be excited about this, especially people who want to see Melee succeed. This is part of what is going to make Melee succeed and stay around for years to come.
Yeah, I really appreciate all those thoughts. And I'm really happy for you that, you know, you decided like, I like this podcast thing in Melee. There's not a lot of Melee podcasts. In fact, there's very few. We could probably count them on one or maybe two hands.
Now they're starting to get a little out of hand, but it's all good. I do love all the Melee podcasts, and I'm so happy that they like me back, because originally I was nervous that it'd be like encroaching on their space, you know? Anyway, go ahead.
I think there's a lot of camaraderie between most creators in the community, because like, compared to like good players, there's not a lot of creators. Like I've been able to like, you know, become pretty cool with people like Walt and Radar and Wisely, and now you and Dark Gen X, and it's as simple as just shooting a DM, and like pretty much everybody I've ever talked to has been really, really cool and willing to help. Like even in like mid 2019, Ludwig was not where he is now, but he was still getting pretty big, and it was pretty obvious that he was destined for great things. And I reached out to him and Slime regarding some content stuff at the time, and they both like responded, and they were very nice about it, and they like talked to me about a few things, and they were incredibly helpful. And like I feel like a lot of people wouldn't expect that kind of thing, but yeah, my point is like, so many people are supportive, and like, you know, they don't see it as competition. There's not that much content for the base, like on how large this community is. So my point is, I think there's so much room for more, and like we live the same life. Like we're going through the same stuff. Like we're all in Premiere together, or you know, you're like, I don't know, what are you in, Audacity?
Yeah, I'm in Audacity. Let's go.
But we all love the same thing, and like I love like seeing Walt like getting hundreds of thousands of views on his videos, seeing like how far he's come in the past couple of years. Like that's fucking incredible. I'm so happy for him. I'm really happy when I see Dark Gen X. He got like his first clip to really start popping on TikTok recently. I was like encouraging him to get started on TikTok. There's like a really great sense of camaraderie. And yeah, for you, I would encourage you to take bigger swings if you haven't been already, and like hit up everybody, man. Like message freaking Toph, message freaking Mango. Mango's not going to get back to you probably, but
no.
You never know who will actually say yes. And you can make that connection, and then all of a sudden, like, you know that person. If you see them at a tournament, you can hang out with them, you can have a beer with them, and now you have a friend and somebody who's actually invested in your success and is willing to do more to invest in helping you get to where you need to go. So for people that love this game and want to be a part of helping to grow the community, there are so many ways to get involved in a way that you like, in a way that you find fulfilling and exciting. And there's resources. There's people more than happy to help you, pull you up a rung on the ladder, so to speak. And again, if there's any way that I could do that for anybody, hit me up. Let's go.
Fun fact, sometimes I go to Discord, I go to Ludwig's Discord server, and I'll just pull up Ludwig's name, hit the message button, and just sit there where it says, "This is the start of your legendary conversation with Ludwig." And I think to myself, is today the day that I'm brave enough to... No, today is not the day. Today is not the day. But I'll sit there, and I'll just stew on it for a few minutes and think, maybe I could, maybe I should. But no, I'm not gonna. I haven't really asked a ton of the quote-unquote upper community figurehead people to come on, because I want to have a healthy balance of having on people who maybe don't get as much of a chance to share their story, people who are kind of like where I am. And I would have loved to have talked to somebody on a podcast format of like, hey, this is how I enjoy Melee. And like, I really want to try to find those people, and who are willing to, of course, because if it's a lurker in the chat, like they're not gonna want to talk about Melee for an hour. But it would be great to continue to find that healthy balance of, like, I've had on Walt and Radar and Wisely, and that's super, super cool. I loved having all of them on. But I've also had other people who you may not have necessarily ever heard of, and it's like, oh, okay, but they love Melee. They love the same kind of content that I do, the listener, and oh wow, this is really cool. Yay, the community. Yay, Melee. And that's more or less what I'm shooting for. But you're very kind. Thank you for the kind words. I'm super excited to see Dark Gen X pop up on TikTok. If that continues to happen, that would be fantastic. I think that if Dark Gen X can master Twitter, Dark Gen X can master TikTok 1,000%. So that would be great to see a CFO of Melee TikTok, perhaps. What title do you think?
Oh my God. Oh man, that's a really good question. You'd have to ask him. Oh man, he could be literally whatever he wants. But ultimately, I think he'd probably be the best person to answer that question. But he's also been doing really well on YouTube. I'm pulling his channel up. Let's see. He had a clip. 252,000 views on the Leffen clip that you're talking about, like the scariest thing you can see on Smash Bros. Twitter. It's 15 seconds long, but 250,000 on YouTube. That's amazingly impressive, and he's one of the most hardworking and just really talented individuals I've met in the scene. And also, really quick, I want to say something. Ludwig has a really great video on that's kind of related to this that I would encourage you to watch, that I think might give you the courage necessary to send him that first message, because he told this story of being at a tournament at one point, and this guy like reached out to him like in the week leading up to the tournament, asking if he could interview him. And this is when Ludwig was clearly on the come up, but like not quite like literally like the face of Twitch or anything. So he was big, but he was like, he wasn't too big to say no to somebody that didn't have a following. And I think he was really cool about this whole thing, if you check out the video. But like, it didn't end up going that well, because in the end, the guy wasn't very prepared. So there's some takeaways in terms of things that this guy could have done better. But Ludwig praises him in a couple very important ways, one of which is being persistence. Like, he messaged Ludwig, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Ludwig may not have gotten back to him the first time. And then he ends up messaging him once more, like the night before the event, to like touch base and see if there's any way that Ludwig would consider spending like maybe 15 minutes to take the interview. And Ludwig was like, you see this kind of thing? Like, this was great. Like, this kind of persistence, awesome. Like, I love to see this, because I'm getting so many DMs from people all the time, and it's really hard to keep up with all of them, to even read all of them. And responding to all of them is really difficult, like, given how much time that would take up. But like, when people are persistent in that way, it makes it that much easier for me to remember who they were. So like, if you message him, maybe he doesn't read it or get back to you, but he fucking might. first of all. And second of all, at least you're starting to try to build that bridge. He sees your fucking name. And you could just tell him like, hey, I have this podcast called Bottom of the Smash Mountain. And then he can start to put that to your name and like your face. And then like maybe you reach out to him again in like a month or something. Eventually he's gonna respond. And maybe he never takes the interview, but like he'll respect you for trying. That's for damn sure. And he'll never be able to respect you if he doesn't know who you are. So you got to introduce yourself to the guy. You know what I mean, man? Go get him, Tiger.
I think that it's all about being persistently patient, though, because, like I said, I think I want to strike a healthy balance of being willing to still be excited about talking to people who are not like super well-known community figureheads. I do really, really believe in that, because if I start to focus only on getting to the higher echelon, I feel like I'll lose a little bit of the genuineness of me saying, hey, look, I want to have on just about anybody onto this podcast. Of course, I don't want to have anybody on who's either problematic or whatever, but like, you know what I'm trying to say. So I think what I more believe in as compared to being persistent and saying, hey, can I get you on? Hey, can I get you on? Hey, can I get you on? Because I would be willing to do that for a few people. Maybe I'll eventually play along with that concept. And I'm certainly, I used to be a car salesperson for about a month and a half. So I learned how to,
damn.
cold call. But the point is that what I'm really excited about is like how I feel like I'm in a good spot now of being like, I'm excited to talk to everybody who comes on. So one day I will do that, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. And lastly, I'll leave it at this. Another good way to get someone like Ludwig to recognize that there's a podcast called Bottom of the Smash Mountain and that I'm running it is to get people like Aiden on first. So that's probably who I'm going to like target and be like, yo, Aiden. He's like, yes.
Yeah.
And Aiden did a podcast tour like a month and a half ago, like around the time that he announced his retirement or right before he announced his retirement. He was on the Mix Up. He was on the Waiting for Game. He was on another podcast as well that I'm forgetting the name of, and now I feel really bad. But Aiden was getting around all over the place, and I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, I should just reach out for the memes. But I was like, no, because as soon as he announced his retirement, Summit 11 is going to be the last thing that he does with Beyond the Summit. And I'm like, that's a good time to get Aiden. That's a great time to get Aiden. But I have had like people like I had on Pew Pew You after he announced his retirement, and that was a privilege. It was an honor to be able to speak with him about his Melee career as a whole, because we were truly looking at it as a whole, not as like a continuing ongoing thing, which is also fun. But it was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm talking to someone who has done so many cool things on the big stages of Melee competition, and they're kind of looking back at it as a whole now. It was really, really cool to be able to do that. Shout outs to Austin Melee for making it happen with me. You get it. I like rambling sometimes too, but not as much as you. Plus, I also want you to, I want to be respectful of your time and give you the people one more chance of where they can find you. Please tell the people where they can find you, offer your closing thoughts, do all that stuff. Zetts, close us out.
All right. Well, very briefly, I love what you're doing. We had never spoken before this, and this was a very easy conversation to have. So I think you're definitely talented at this, and I wish you all the best. So keep trucking along, man. I believe. And I love also your point about like wanting to make a space for people that aren't necessarily the most prominent members of the community, but simply love this game. Making a space for those kind of conversations too is a really cool and unique thing. And yeah, keep doing it. So I am at Smashcasts on everything I can be at Smashcasts on. For some reason, Instagram won't let me change my name on Instagram to Smashcasts, even though it's not taken. Nobody else has it. I think it thinks it's explicit because it says Smash. So I don't know if it thinks it's about violence or if it's about sex. I don't know. But on Twitter, I changed my handle. I am now at Smashcasts. On TikTok, I am at Smashcasts. I have a Smashcasts Twitch as well. I actually made a second account because I didn't want to give up twitch.tv/Zetts, which is actually mine. One day I will have at Zetts on Twitter. I just need to pay the guy who has it a couple $100 or some shit. But yeah, I hope I can get that someday. But I'm going to keep making content on TikTok. I see this as a big opportunity for the community, and I think it's a huge privilege and honor to be in a position where I can attempt to pioneer this new frontier and try to engage more people to care about our scene. This scene has been through a lot in the past 10 years. We've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but I think ultimately it's a very redeemable community that is fantastic in so many different ways. And if I can dedicate a part of my life to getting people interested in that and helping them share what we have all come to love for so many years, I think there's a lot of beauty in that. And it'd be, to me, a very noble way for me to try to give back to the community that has given me so much over the past 8 years. So thank you for having me.
Zetts, thank you so much for being with me here on Bottom of the Smash Mountain.
Hell yeah, man. See you next time.
Woo, we made it. Another day, another podcast interview. Thank you to Zetts one more time for joining me. Wow, so much fun to go over all of the awesome parts of the conversation that we just had. I'm not going to try to be specific, even though it is tempting to prove that I did just have this conversation, but I'm not going to get into too much current day stuff, or actually hardly any. And I should also clarify also that it was Casper Dial who I was trying to remember the name of. Casper Dial is the editor for Ginger's YouTube, so shout outs to Casper Dial. I'm so sorry I forgot your name. They're your Twitter handle, I should say. But I remembered now, so probably not super happy with me, but I just want to say, Casper Dial, I love your sense of humor. It comes through so nicely for Ginger's YouTube videos. Okay, so back to the other thing that I wanted to clarify. This episode will not be releasing the day that the interview is being recorded, or even within the next 24 hours, that's when I usually try to have stuff put out, but that doesn't always happen. This time, there are just things that you already know about because I've already put out another podcast episode before this one, episode 38, where I haven't recorded it yet, but I'll be talking about how awesome it is that I'm going to be going to my first ever tournament, period. And I'm very excited about that. And so I'll be taking off this upcoming week in advance of June 26th to do the tournament thing and to not do the podcast thing. So anyway, I'll get into more specifics if you want to go back the episode with me and Apostle, and you can listen to that if you really want to. But if you're just here for this wrap up, and if you're only here for Zetts, no judges. So I don't want to talk about anything else because I'm going to save the current day stuff for the episode that I want to come out before this one. And I'm just planning all kinds of stuff right now, aren't I? Fun fact, I am editing 3 interviews at once, back to back to back. Woo! I'll probably mention that a few more times, either in episode 38 or in episode 40, so just brace yourself. It's going to be a wild ride, but I'm doing this also that I can have a week to have with the family. And then on Saturday, get into the melee with all the melee hooligans. All right. Now, you know all those things. Let's not keep you here any longer. I hope we'll catch you next time on Bottom of the Smash Mountain, all that fun stuff. All right. Later, y'all.